Greetings, technology enthusiasts. I am Chandrahas and I am delighted to be here with you representing CyberBrainer. Do you not believe that the technology sector is advancing at an unprecedented rate, making this an opportune moment to acquire the skills that will facilitate your progress? With CyberBrainer, we are empowering you to take control of your own future. At CyberBrainer, we do not merely impart your interests. We assert that information is power, yet it is the application of knowledge that distinguishes you. Our courses are meant to equip you with essential skills, whether you are pursuing data science, understanding artificial intelligence, or delving into cybersecurity. Let us commence the session and seize the future today. Thank you.
I'll move into the new topic today. Now that is your action security. In order to understand action security, guys, we need to understand a little bit of business process first of all. If you remember, I said any kind of activity which you do in the Workday tenant, right? It is governed by a business process. Now, what is a business process? A business process is a series of steps. It's just like a workflow. If I have to perform any activity like I had to create supervisory organizations, right? If I have to create supervisory organization, I need to put in the task create supervisory organization and then I will be able to perform it. That steps that you have to put in the name, you have to put in the types of type, all those things you have to choose the staffing model. If you don't choose it, it will not be created. Correct. That is defined in the backend. And that is through a business process. Everything that you do in the system, it is controlled through a business process. For example, I have to create a position. Do you remember we started with create position through staffing and then we saw it says process complete. Wherever you see process complete, which means there is a business process behind it. Now, each and every person who is going to use Workday, we all know that they have their own roles for which they will access Workday. A sales user will only access it for the HR related work and accountant will go ahead and look into the cost centers. That's it. And of course, he also is an employee. We will also use it for the HR purpose only. Apart from that, you have other users who are going to use it for different purposes, like HR will use it as their own tool because they are the most frequent users for HCM tool. And there will be security administrators who will be using it for their purposes. There will be Workday consultants who will be using it for their purposes, right? What type of business process you are going to assign to people, that will be defined on your security group, because if you have to provide permissions to perform the activity, right? In that case, what is going to happen? You need to find out which business process is responsible for doing what, and then you have to add the security group into that permission list to perform the activity. Again, here also the permissions are given on which place. I just explained that if you are giving the permission to perform any activity, you have to add that security group there. Suppose I am the person who is supposed to create a position. Create position is a business process and I should have access to that. If I don't have access to that business process, I will not be able to create position. Create subordinate is a business process. And this user that you saw, whoever that user is, that user does not have access to that business process. That's the reason we are not able to create subordinate. Now I don't have the authority to make those changes. Otherwise, I would have shown that you can go ahead and assign the permissions. Let's see how exactly it works. What we are going to see now. I'll show you that there will be a list of business process. Like there was a list of functional area, right? And as per the functional area, there were fields. And if I have to give the permission on the fields, I have to use the functional area. In order to provide any activity, in order to give any permission for any activity, I need to find that business process which allow us to perform that activity. Just give me a minute. The task. There is a report for that business process definition. See this. As per again the module. Whatever business processes are there, you will be able to see all of them within this tenant. There are 554 business processes which are there. Right. Let's say I was talking about create position. Right. Let's search. See what are the things I have: create position, create primary address, create project. Now, these are not only related with HCM, there are multiple things that you will see. Let me show it to you. How does that work? You have the business process and it belongs to which module, whether it is finance, whether it is student module, whether it is staffing, whether it is, HCM. It will tell you HR compensation. All these things will tell you HR core worker. And then what Workday does is Workday gives you a default definition. Workday already creates a business process for this case. Whenever you want to see any business process, Workday has already created one. Now, if you want to use the same business process, then there is no problem. Just keep using it. There is no issues. But if you don't want to use the default business process, which Workday has given you need to create your own or customize it, that you can use it as per your requirement. That is how business process works. In this chapter, which is your action security, it's not a chapter altogether. It's a topic within security. In action security, we will only understand how do you give the permission in the business process of the security group that you have. If you cannot give the permission to your security group, you will not be able to see how exactly the business process functions. Now, if you see, I have different business processes here. I'm just trying to see if I have something like create subordinate. See, there is a business process. If I just filter that, see, it says organization. It is in hierarchy and I can get into this business process. Just click on that, open it in a new tab. Every activity that we are doing, guys, remember it is through a business process only, and that is already defined in Workday. It's a default business process and that you have seen it already. In this list, there are more than 500 business processes that is already defined in the system. And this is how it looks like. I'm just trying to bring that in front of you, that you will see that in each business process, there are different steps. Whatever you want to use, see that create position. See, that's a business process. Create supervisory organization. Create supplier. No, supervisory is not a business process which we can change. We don't have access to that. No, that also is not, something that we can change. But again, what I'm trying to say is every activity that you perform is a business process, guys. We don't have access to that. That's the reason we are not getting it. Alright, this is what I wanted to show you. Now what happens when you go into a business process? Now it sees view business process definition. Create subordinate. And this is my default definition. What happens in every business process? You see there is step. Step A, initiation. That's the only step that has been mentioned. When you initiate a creation of subordinate, the rest of the steps will follow automatically. Now what I'm trying to show you, the security. Don't go into the business process right now because that may cause confusion. I'm not going to go there. I'm only going to talk about security right now. If I have to provide a permission to perform an activity in the tenant to anybody. That person should have access to the business process. Now how you can give the permission through business process security policy. You have to get into that business process and you have to exactly find that business process where you want to give the permission. And then you see this option which says business process policy. When you click on edit, you will get edit business process security policy. You see that. This is the place where I assign the permissions, business process, security policy, and there you have create subordinate. Now, how do we give the permissions? Business process is very easy. Why and how? You already had the questions here. See, it says who can start the business process. Now, do you want your security group to perform this activity? Then just add your security group here. That's it. I got HR executive. I'm going to do that. Once I go ahead and make the changes. I have added it, right? It says activate your security policy change. You see that? This is the most easiest way how you can actually assign a permission. Now this security group has got the permission to start the business process of creation of roles and organization. Now you see what does it say, create subordinate. Used as a sub-process of starting event. Please note that if the parent event is received, the sub-process is not recent. Recent means it goes back, like a step back. Then if you want to give any security group here, you can do that also, but not required for us. Now here you see. I think the security group which this user has. I don't know what this user has. Let me just check. I'll try to add that security group. It might help us to fix that problem also. This person has got 335 security groups. Let me see if she has got for HR administrator. No, I don't see anything. Now she is HR administrator, but is this? See here, Kara administrator is not there. I'm going to add that. I added it. I don't know if it will work or not, but I'm trying it at least because I don't have expertise about this tenant. Now what has happened? You have added the security group, but now you are not able to see it here. Why you're not able to see it here, guys? What is the reason? Activate right. Act pending security. Policy change. Approved by PM. Click on. And then it will show you business process this time. It will not show you just the field here. See create subordinate. Confirm and click on. This is the process, business process, where we have made the changes. Right now I go back and just refresh this. I'll just try to edit it once again. No, it's not giving me. Let me refresh it. I don't know, guys, this is really slow today. Here you see this. And HR administrator, both are there. If I go and click on, this will still be there now and you will be able to see it also. See, both the terms are there. Right? This is how it works. Once you have given the permission and you have activated it, then only you will be able to see. What did we understand here? Any action that needs to be performed in the tenant by anybody. Whatever security group that person is holding. Whatever security group that person is belonging to, that security group should be part of that business process. If that security group is not part of that business process, then you are not or you will not be able to perform that activity. I said any user who has to perform any activity. Whichever security group that user belongs to, that security group should have the permission to perform that business process. then only that person will be able to perform the activity. Otherwise, you will not be able to do that. The user will not be able to perform the activity which is related to business process or that particular action which is governed by that business process. What did we learn in this? The action security is governed by business process security policy. That's the first thing. Now by default, Workday has lot of business processes in their system. They have approximately 500 plus business processes which is there in their system. And each business process has a default step which is defined by Workday themselves. Each business process has a default steps which is already defined by Workday themselves. That's the reason you see this option which says default definition. For example, if I want to customize it, then in that sense I will have the list of customized business process here. For example, let's see hire. Hire is also a business process because if you don't have the permission to hire, you see I have the hire business process. This is the default definition. And there are multiple hire processes which has been created. You see that. Now these are all custom hire process which has been created under this hire main business process. What does that indicate? It indicates if you do not have the default definition available, you cannot go ahead and customize the business process. There is always a default business process which is provided by Workday. And if that business process is there, but you don't want to use the same default process and you want to customize your own process. For that purpose, you need the default business process permissions. You need those business process which is there in Workday. Then only you can customize it. Here I have the hire default business process. And if you see, there are more than 100 custom business process created for hire. Do you see that? All these business process are custom business process. It does not follow the same default definition which is given by Workday. We, as a consultant, we are here to customize, guys. The default process anybody can use. But we, as a consultant, are required to customize things as per customers' requirements. That is the reason. You see, with one hire process, there are 100 plus hire business process that has been created. Now each business process will have its own security. And how do you go into the security? What do you do? I've just shown you. First of all, I will have to go into the business process where I have to change the permissions. Right? Edit it. Edit. Let's say I'm using this custom business process. Someone has created it in the tenant. I'm saying that I want to go and make the changes in the security of this business process. Here you see what is that? There are two steps A and B, right? And I want to change the security. I'll click on Actions. Go to Business Process Policy and edit. Always remember these things. You cannot forget it. Now you see there are multiple security groups that are added here. Do you see that? Each step you will have something. What I want my security group also to have the same permission. I'll go ahead and add my security group here. I want to give it to both my user-based or and role-based both. And I'll go ahead and click on. What it will do now? Again, I have to go ahead and activate it. How will I do that? Activate pending security policy changes. Pending security policy changes. I'll just say approved. Click on. Let's check what exactly is going to come. Right? If it is not matching with the things that you have done, then will you confirm it? No, we should not. Right. Here I made the changes in the higher business process. Right. I will confirm and click on. What do we do here? Here, let's see once again. For action security, we have to follow business process security policy. If I have to go to a business process security policy, I have to first of all find the business process. How do I go there? What do I do? I have to go into the business process policy report. In that business process policy, in the business process definition, basically I will get all the business processes. Now I have to find out which business process I have to look into. For example, what is the business process that I have to use? I want to say that I want to give somebody an option to mark their attendance. For timesheet, fill the timesheet. I have to find that business process first of all. And once I will be able to find those business process, then what I'll do? I'll get into the security and add that security group there. Once I've added it, I will activate it, and then the permissions are given to that security group. Whosoever is using that security group, now that person is able to mark the attendance. Now let's understand what happened, guys, when Workday came into the market in the initial time. Like 18-20 years back when the product was launched. At that time, there was a limitation. Now, what was that limitation? You were not allowed to customize any business processes. You were not allowed to customize any business processes. You were only allowed to use the default ones which was given by Workday. Suppose you have some additional steps that you want to add in your business process. You cannot do that. You were not allowed. Now what happened? Customers were not happy because they could not make any changes in their business process. If they were not able to make any changes in their business process, they stopped buying the product. Now what did happen after that? After that they were able to, put an idea that without the customization of business process, we cannot do anything. We cannot help or we cannot buy the product. Workday, what did they do? They gave an option. They gave an answer to the limitation that if you want to customize the business process in the next release, you are going to get it. After, I think, 2 to 3 releases, they brought the feature that you can only customize the existing business process which is there in the system. You cannot customize anything. I have written here that there is a limitation. Now, what does it say? We cannot create or change any business process. It's not true. That was the limitation. In Workday, they are given away as well that how you can remove the limitation. What do? We have two ways. We can change the steps in the default business process itself. But ideally that is not suggested, because it will override the default permissions from Workday. Even if you want to look at what are the default permissions from Workday, you will not be able to see because it's customized. What Workday says is that if you want to go ahead and do it, or if you want to make any changes, make a copy of it. Once you make a copy, what will happen? Now, the other business process which you have created is now your business process, right? The default one stays there, and now you have a copy of it. Now, whatever you want to do in that copy, go ahead and make the changes. It is your business process. You want to remove the steps from the default one. Remove it. You want to add some more steps, you can do that. These are the ways. Another thing, I don't want to use any step from the default one. I'll show you when I create the business process. I'll show you all that. That I will use none of the above, and I don't want to make a copy. It will give me a new business process, but there will be no steps in that. The only step which will be there will be initiation, because initiation is a step which is always there by default, which will be there by default. You cannot remove that. The first step is always initiation in terms of business process. Now what we are going to do? You see the task by which you can make the changes in the business process security policy. You have to first go to that business process, click on Actions, go to Business Process Policy, Edit. Now I have just taken an example of hire. Who can go ahead and hire, or who can start the business process? Add your security group. Whatever security group you have created, add that. Then the most mandatory step, activate the pending security policy changes. This is the way how you give the permissions of any activity in the tenant. Whether it is any activity, it is governed by a business process. Right now, I've just shown it to you, create subordinate right. Create subordinate was an action right. I added the security group, our security group also, and Carol's security group also, right? She should have now the option to create subordinate. But I'm not sure if that is a security group, which is the primary security group which has been assigned to her. It may be a possibility. It may not be a possibility, but this is how you give the permissions. And then you activate the pending security policy. That's it. This is how your action security functions. The only thing what you need to find out is which is that business process, or you know which where you have to give the permission. You need to find that. And that task is something which you can get it from the business process definition report. Because in that report, if you see this, it tells you that this gives us all the BP. BP here is business process. Or we can say it gives us the list of all the business process which is there in the system. And from there you can easily find out that what activity or what actions you have to perform. All the activities. I'll go back once again. Business process definition. Whatever processes are there, whatever, I'm not saying just any one process. No, it is for every module. See finance, right? App, right? If you go into this, option says STU, that is for student, Workday student. Here you see EFSI organization activator, CHAR academic appointment, HR core staffing field position. and retiree status. That is also a business process or co-occur, right? If you just go into this, you will have all the modules which are there. And there is another thing. You want to download it, just export it to Excel. It will be a copy down. Download it, keep it on your system. If you're not able to download it on your system, open your email, send it to yourself. You will always have it with you. You will never face any challenges. Even if the tenant access is gone, you can still see that. Which business process was there for HR? Because you can always add a filter here, right? If I just add a filter, you see that I want to look for absence of anything which is related to absence. You will get it. Let's say HR, anything related to RCHR benefits. There are many business processes for just benefit itself, right? Payment hire right. All these things, you can just add a filter and see HR compensation process and payments process, hire global employee contract, pre-hire contract, HR process, recruiting process, hire. Now what is this? Basically, these are your modules. And you are able to get all the information from here itself. This is not part of your curriculum or, not part of your code, but I'm just trying to explain you how important this is. And when you have a default definition, you can customize it as per your choice. Whatever you want to build, you can. There's no problem at all, right? This is the way how you can go ahead and create your own business process that I have not actually discussed yet. But how you can give the permissions on any business process that you have. Chapter 6 is completed today. We don't have anything more to be added in Chapter 6. We completed both action security and data security. Right. Now we are going into business process as a chapter. That is what the chapter is going to come. I just given you an introduction to the business process already. Now we will try to understand how that business process is set up. That is what the next thing is. But I'm not rushing. I'm not going ahead on that today. I will take time because you have to digest the security first. This is not an easy thing, guys. It's a complex thing which I want you to go ahead and spend the time in the tenant. I haven't discussed about integrations till now, but the permission came in there. I just thought of telling it to you. But if you're asking, I am again going to repeat it. Guys, when we do integration, integration means connecting two different systems. One is of course going to be Workday. And what is the second one? We don't know. Now what kind of integration it will be? We don't know. Let's suppose you have connected two systems. How that is done, that we will discuss later. Now you need to send the data from Workday to a third party. If you have to send the data from Workday to a third party, that means you will have to extract the data. If you have to extract the data, that means you need to have a GT permission. The security group which you have been assigned to or which you are a member of, that security group should have the permission to perform GT operation. GET means you're getting the data from Workday and sending it to a third party. In that, if you have only view permission, then you will be able to extract the data because you're not making any changes. But if you have modified permission, then only you can perform the PUT action. PUTing, what does that mean? You're trying to insert the data into Workday. What does that mean? That your data is coming from a third party and you're inserting it into Workday. Which means I should have modified permissions as well, because if I don't have modified, I will not be able to change anything. Once I have modified permission modified, then I can have PT permission also. Once I have pull, I can go ahead and insert the data. Please do like, share and subscribe to our channel.